The latest evidence of a declining nation.
Question is raised about where the U.S. goes from there.
It sent a real shiver down the spines of many politicians.
It was not just the story of the day, but the story over a few days is really Canadians tried to make sense of what was happening to the United States, which is not just our closest neighbor, but probably our closest ally.
Perhaps in part because of this country's history, many Germans were just horrified by what they saw, and that was really reflected in the headlines at the time. Just looking at them, one newspaper described those scenes as sad and terrifying, caused by supporters of a delusional, voted-out president. More than one publication describing the event as an attempted coup.
Was it a big story? Well, it got the prominence that the propagandists here wanted it to get. And the tone of that coverage essentially was, look, this is the latest evidence of a declining nation.
Certainly in Canada, a lot of questions in terms of whether what happened south of the border could happen here, if the same forces were present at the same level, whether it be populism or organizations like the Proud Boys.
All of a sudden, Germany realised that tucked away on social media, the far right and conspiracy theories actually do wield considerable influence. It sent a real shiver down the spines of many politicians, not least because a few months earlier, people protesting against COVID restrictions, some of them from the far right, had tried to storm the Bundestag, the German parliament.
Some of the state-controlled media here talking about the double standards of America's democracy, and they drawed parallels with what was happening on the streets of Hong Kong a year earlier. So basically what they were saying was, on the one hand, the US and others supported those protesters in Hong Kong who wanted more democracy, more freedom, and yet on the other hand, when it happens in DC, it's a riot.
President Trump wasn't popular in Germany, and all of this confirmed what many people, particularly in political circles, had long feared, that his open disdain for democratic institutions could lead to this kind of chaos.
There are genuine questions raised about where the U.S. goes from there. In terms of U.S. democracy, now I would say there's certainly a lot more attention being paid to the mechanisms of U.S. democracy.
Obviously, there are countless numbers of people here who aspire to what the US has, and it was seen as a national tragedy. But in terms of state-controlled media and the narrative there, well, that was, look, this is what happens. This is the latest evidence of a declining nation.